views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Welcome to Lyme Talk Radio with Dr. Pat Baccili. Epic healing for an epic life. This inspiring show highlights leading-edge solutions, groundbreaking research, headline topics, and tools for holistic healing and wellness. This hit show is dedicated to raising awareness, promoting advocacy and prevention, and supporting initiatives for optimal health. Dr. Pat is passionate and focused on life-saving results reaching far beyond Lyme disease, providing a forum for powerful stories, heart-opening experiences, and hope-activated solutions. Dr. Pat will shine a light on the many shades of Lyme disease fueled by a body, mind, spirit remedy. Now here's your host, Dr. Pat.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. This is Lyme Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Pat Baccili, and joining me here today, my friend and colleague, Dr. Ronnie DeLuz. And now listen, today we are talking about something that, and I must say, that when you look at national journals, rather international journals, let me say that, and you look at international journals and you start to Google or search your academic database for ozone therapy, you find some very interesting research. What you find, number one, is how interesting ozone therapy research is in the field of dental and dental care. And you got to be asking yourself this question: why is she talking about that on a Lyme Talk radio show? Well, I'll tell you why. Because when you start to go down the rabbit hole and look at oxygen ozone therapy, and you start to look at what the rest of the world is legally doing with it, other countries, and the research that has been done, we start to look at why they're looking at ozone therapy. Today, Dr. Ronnie and I are going to take a trip, a little journey down the rabbit hole to talk about the evolution of medical ozone therapy, or ozone therapy, period. Dr. Ronnie is an international author, holistic healer. Her first book, 21 Pounds, 21 Days, The Martha's Vineyard Detox Diet, worldwide acknowledgement, New York Times bestseller. She works with celebrities all over the world. She has been on radio, television, the host of her own show on Transformation Talk Radio and the like, and is a researcher who has studied environmental toxicity, harmful sources, and most importantly and recently, this conundrum we call Lyme disease. Today, she and I, out of a little conversation, very informal conversation we had, decided we wanted to talk about ozone. And here we are. Dr. Ronnie, it's great to have you here. And this is actually what happened. You and I were chit-chatting, right?
Yeah, Dr. Pat, you make me sound like so old and ancient. I was listening to that long list of things that I do, and I was actually getting tired. I'm going like, whoa, how do we do it all? You know how we do it all?
I don't.
Just so, I was talking to you, we're just so passionate about this. And I get so excited when I talk to you about all of this stuff because, I really forgot that I was one of the first naturopathic doctors in the country doing ozone treatments. I've been doing ozone treatments for 25 years. Now, but when I was doing it 25 years ago, Dr. Pat, people thought I was crazy, like, who's this voodoo doctor that does these things, And now here I am today. They're not asking me what it is any longer. They're asking me how to do it. So we've come a long way. All those out there who are thinking, what is ozone? Well, ozone is so powerful that it blasts holes through the membranes of viruses, bacteria, yeast, and abnormal tissue cells. Of course, that that mean cancer as well. So one of the early uses of ozone was in America in the 1930s, when it was found to be effective in treating various types of inflammatory bowel disorders, such as ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease and chronic bacterial diarrhea, things like that. So in this procedure, ozone gas is delivered in many different ways. You can deliver it into your rectum. You can deliver it through a catheter tip. They do a lot of that in Mexico, as you well know.
Yes.
And it can be absorbed through the lining of the colon and the skin. There's been famous people out there in the world who've been using ozone for many, many years. Ozone is used in the treatment of many types of chronic cancer and HIV, hepatitis, and all types of things. I mean, there's a whole 50 pages that lists just about every chronic illness that ozone is good for. So, you wonder why we don't use it as more often. Through diligent research, the Germans were able to determine that ozone was incredibly effective in destroying many of these different types of chronic infections, such as the social types of diseases that came out many years ago, like the herpes virus, the HIV, the cytomegalovirus, and then they realized how effective that it was in these chronic types of illnesses. They started using for acute disorders, such as oxygen-deprived heart disease. So you can talk about ozone for hours and hours and hours and never stop missing out on which chronic illness that it touched. We're literally talking about oxygenation, but ozone is one of the most powerful things in the world, that it actually can clean up the New York City water. I love to say that.
Yeah, I love it too. Yeah,
So,
yeah. And not only that, here's the kind of cool thing about this. Since the last time you and I talked, I also sent you over an article that we'll probably have to do a whole nother show on that. But listen, we now know that ozone therapy, if you just read it, for the treatment of AIDS and herpes, and it goes on and on and on. But I got to tell you, the thing I'm super excited about, which I did not know was going on, is, for example, outside of the U.S., let's talk about, we talk about the Saudis a lot, but we don't talk about what they're doing in their universities, in their medical profession. So when you step out of here and we look at some of the research, and I come across, and let me be clear, Dr. Ronnie, a journal, which means citations, controlled experiments, right? You know how everybody says, oh, you people over there doing this therapy, you don't have any studies. You're just all of these anecdotal. No. So the people in the dental are coming out, and here's what they're saying. We just did this research. Now, I'm not a big fan of testing rats, but I'll tell you, some other people do. Mm-hmm. They go through and they break this thing down in a way, all because they want to prove a point that ozone, saline ozone, squirting it on your teeth is going to kill the germs, right?
Yep.
I mean, do you know how many hours went into this research? But, here's part of the conundrum, right? Do we ever look at the dental research? Do we ever look at, how this O3, this natural gaseous molecule made up of 3 oxygen atoms, oxygen, right, originates from Greek, this thing that we talk about with more than 100 years, Ronnie.
I know, more than 100 years
of
yes.
How come we can't get any love for the ozone?
It's because it doesn't cost a lot of money. I hate to say that.
Oh boy, there you go.
Here we go. I hate to say that.
Oh, there are those two. There are those two. Dr. P and Dr. R. They're like, let's talk about the money. You know what's interesting about these studies? All the studies I pull. You know what they have coming out of the gate? We are not affiliated and associate with any conflict of interest group. Hallelujah.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And not, ozone is the greatest detoxifier, actually destroying all kinds of chronic chemicals that, like benzene, some of the most chronic and dangerous chemicals in the world that they can't get rid of, but ozone can. Now, think about that. They can clean up our environment if they want to. Ozone is effective in alleviating these things. Even it is on top. It is not chemotherapy first, it's ozone. But you always have to remember that the body is so complex that it requires a modality, a protocol, a program. A lot of people are doing it wrong. That they got a handle on their chronic illness. And I tell people, we have trillions of cells. What makes you think that one thing is going to clean up trillions of cells? You have to have the right environment in your body. You have to have the right antioxidants in your body. You have to eat the right food. You have to have the right combination of minerals and vitamins. You have to sleep good. All of these things is what's going to increase your immune system function, because it's all about the immune system. So you just can't go on a kill program. And I like to use that word kill because that's literally what people want to do. They want to take chemotherapy or ozone or whatever, and they want to kill. So after the kill program, you have to ask yourself, and now what?
Right.
You got to repair and rebuild your entire structure of your human frame. And that's the part that people don't understand. And so at the retreat, people go, why 21 days? Well, it takes 21 days of doing a complex program to rebuild a new body. So ozone treatments is just one part of the treatment modality that we do here. The other part have a lot to do with nutrition, building up the cellular level, the immune system. We do hyperthermia. We do all kinds we do infrared treatments. We do IV cocktails. And one of the things about Lyme, it's very difficult for antibiotics to cross the blood-brain barrier. And so I've been telling people for years now, well, here's that years again. I can tell people, I've been telling people for like over 20 years, and they look at me like, what? You look like you're 20. But anyway, I've been telling people for over 20 years now that if you do antibiotics, which is a kill program, you have to repair and rebuild the structure of your body with probiotics or good bacteria. So we started doing essential oils, specific essential oils with the microcirculation that we use, which is a biomagnetic energy regulation field energy machine, and it helps the essential oils to cross the blood-brain barrier so that you can use it with antibiotics or without antibiotics, but nevertheless it has been very, very effective, especially when we mix those essential oils with antifungal essential oils and some anti-parasitic essential oils. And it's a very well-tolerated protocol. A lot of my Lyme clients are getting well and staying well for a very long time, as long as they go on a complete maintenance program and not just a kill program. So we're now seeing people come to the retreat that have been on antibiotics for a year or more with the PICC line. And so what we're doing is we're repairing their body to be able to take on that stronger immune system, because once you get off of the antibiotics, it leaves you vulnerable to what's called secondary infections, and also yeast infections and viral infections after you've already been on the antibiotics for a year. So we're repairing people's immune system with that. And ozone has become more popular than ever in the last, I would say, only 3-4 years, Dr. Pat. I've been seeing an increase in people asking for ozone treatments because now they know what it is, where before it was hidden in the closet. So it's out of the closet.
Yeah. I mean, what's shocking about this, Dr. Ronnie, is that, if you go back to 1840, a German chemist, Christian Friedrich Schoenbein, father of ozone, he's called, right, points out that the stratosphere layer of the atmosphere contains abundance of the ozone. And guess what it does? It protects the living organisms from ultraviolet rays. So
Yes.
ozone, by the way, right, is heavier than air. And so it falls down to earth at high altitudes. It cleanses the air, combines, right, with any pollutant, any
Yeah.
pollutant that it comes
Wow.
in contact with.
And I love the way you say any pollutant, because
Any.
people don't hear it when we say stuff like that.
I know they
and
don't.
I don't know if we're just like talking in a different language or what, but but maybe it just sounds too good to be true, and so it just really go over people's head. But I'll say something like, ozone can eliminate the allergic component of the HIV antibodies, and an elimination of malignant tumors. And you hear what I'm saying, and they're just kind of like looking at me like, what is she talking about? Well, I just told you the word elimination. I just said that. So, and this is not my research. There's a lot of research out there. So I'm just quoting people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, the articles, I wanted to zoom in when I pulled, some of these academic articles, to talk about this today. I don't want an article from 2003 and 2004, although, Dr. Ronnie, I will tell you that those articles were so far ahead of their time. The problem with them was that they weren't willing to come out of the gate like some of the newer research, right? And talk about what they call, you ready? This is going to be a tough term for everybody. The mechanism of action. What? Ozone has a mechanism of action. Now, what does that mean?
Right.
It means it has a wide range of applications in treating various diseases, owing its unique properties. Listen, this is from the research, including antimicrobial, immunostimulant, analgesic, anti-hypnotic, detoxicating, bioenergetic, biosynthetic actions. Then they go through and they tell you, what do those mean and what did we find?
Right.
Right.
And, and maybe it scares people, the fact that, because, I have this book, is like 500 pages. And I've had it for a very long time about ozone, right? Literally. It's like huge. You can't even carry so many pages. And so I'm going through this ozone book, and finally I go, well, let's just keep this simple. It just kills and cures everything. I mean, no one wants to use that word, and so just scratch that word out, cure. But ozone is effective against all microbial bacterias, viruses, fungal infections, and viruses, and just keep it going. And 99% of chronic illnesses stems from one of those, right?
Yeah. And, here's what I love about studies like this, because we're so much more open, right? So take the word Lyme out for a minute. Let's pretend, Dr. Ronnie, you and I are not going to talk Lyme for a moment. Take that word out. All right, wait, what are we talking about? Dental applications. For those of you getting ready to turn off the channel, don't do it just yet. What does a dental application, have to do with Lyme? Oh, wait, ozone and oral pathogens, right?
That's right.
Now, it has been reported that exposure, about 60s exhibited 99.9% killing efficacy against carcinogenic bacteria, such as, and I can't read them, but the Streptococcus. Listen, now look, this is a study.
Yeah. I know.
So people say, oh yeah, but that's like oral. No, yeah, but Lyme is not like that. But Ronnie, what is Lyme? Isn't it truly in a lot of ways like the pathogens we see? Yeah, maybe some of the Lyme, like the Lyme bugs, as I like to call them, maybe they're slow growing, so they don't respond to some of this stuff. Well, what does that mean if it's slow growing? You have to have consistent treatment.
You have to have consistent treatment, and that's why what people I don't understand, but we live in a world where people want quick cures of everything, and that is why we're seeing the chronicity of the Lyme protocols that they're using right now not working, because you just can't. There's no such thing as going to doing a kill program and expecting to get it all. We're talking about a cellular level disease like cancer. There's no way that you can do a modality or a treatment regime of just 6 months to a year and not treat the whole body. It's a whole body disease, and we're missing the other parts. And it's complex. And I think that if people start understanding that, because we're going to start seeing second generation Lyme disease survivors, and those are the people that are going to start getting other types of symptoms after they thought that they were well, unless they're on a maintenance program. Because we're not talking about that you do antibiotics and it's gone. That's the same thing as saying, well, we do chemotherapy and it's gone. And then years later, you get another cancer. So therefore, we missed the boat on the person truly developing a good immune system, a better immune system, a healthier immune system. And that's what you have to do with chronic Lyme. And so the ozone treatments is just another kill, but it also stabilizes your entire body. So, and it's not that we're saying that ozone treatments cost a lot of money. It doesn't. You know, a lot of these things that you can do for the body, whole body maintenance, repair is not a lot of money. And that is why it's not being endorsed.
Well, you know, you and I were talking about a presentation that was made, and I like the presentation in that, you know, if you're presenting in front of a medical group of people, which this was, then, you know, what you put in a PowerPoint like this makes a lot of sense. But, you know, when you say to somebody, let me tell you about this multi-system disease. Now, the average person is probably listening to this and saying, I don't get it. What is a multi-system disease? What does that mean? What is immune dysregulation? Well, you know, do we have to know all of that? I mean, is Lyme the only multi-system disease? And by the way, do most people carry Borrelia, right? How about Babesia? You know, do we carry it? You know, questions that are being asked now. What are the primary reasons for epidemic obesity and diabetes? See, these are the new questions being asked. But boy, I'll tell you, Ronnie, we got to be willing to start at the basics and say, wow, do you think that ozone might get its way through some kind of biofilm or something?
That's exactly right. And so that's what we keep saying, that it's a complex, multi-therapeutic modality protocol. It truly is. And Dr. Pat, more than anything, and I've been doing this for over 20 to 30 years, I would love to be able to say, this is the magic. But I'm a naturopath, and I've been doing this work for a lot of years, and I come from traditional hospital setting when I worked at some of the best hospitals in the country. So I know the difference between acute and chronic and how to repair a body that's been in a state of disrepair for so many years. And that takes work. But more than that, it takes some education. And there's just not a lot of people out there educating on how to have a healthy body. It stimulates, and it starts from what you put in your mouth every day. It's a lifestyle that you have to go through, and you have to change your lifestyle. And people don't know what that means. When you say change your lifestyle, what does that mean? Do I eat more fruit, or do I eat more vegetables, or do I eat more protein? Do I go into ketosis, or do I decrease my calories? There's too much information out there, and there's this new disease out there called too much information. People, you know, they go on the internet and then they come to the retreat and they have like pages of all kinds of stuff ready for me. And I go, well, that's really great that you did all your research, but let's figure out what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. So, you know, that's why it takes 21 days. But I think if we can really get people to understand, let's start at the basics. First, let's clean up your internal body so that your organs can work better, because at the end of the day, no matter what we give you, whether it's chemo, ozone, antibiotics, essential oils, herbs, you know, homeopathic, no matter what that is, you still need to clean your entire body up. And that is that you start with what you put in your mouth, and you make sure that you process it or digest it, because what you eat is not all the time the same as what you use. And so you have to make sure you use what it is that you're eating so that you can have the energy to even repair at the cellular level. And then you also got to think about if the body's going to be completely acid or alkaline or neutral, so you got to deal with that. And then we got to put back all the other things that your body's missing. Like we find today, people think that, I love it when they come to me, they go, well, I'm on 10,000 units of vitamin D. So if the whole world think they're lacking vitamin D, are you kidding me? Vitamin D is just one thing that people is lacking. We just haven't gotten to the other things yet. But we do a lot of blood work here at the retreat, and I'm telling you, we are living in the world of plenty. But Dr. Pat, we're starving. You should see the blood work that I get.
I know.
And we think we're eating good. And I love it when those people say, well, I eat really good, Dr. Ronnie. And I go, If you're eating really good, I'd like to know what you're eating because I want some of it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing we're going to talk about when we come back is, this study that I mentioned earlier, the one that was made in Seattle, they have a very interesting PowerPoint, but one of the slides in the PowerPoint absolutely says it all. It's a flow chart with a bunch of arrows on it. And it starts out with the top saying triggered event of physiological stress. When we come back, we're going to talk about the cycle of this. And Dr. Ronnie and I are going to, have a conversation about whether or not we really believe that the longer the duration, generally the worse the immune system dysfunction, the worse the symptoms and the more treatment resistance. We're going to have a chit chat about that when we come back. Is that really, really true? Dr. Ronnie, how can people find out more about you? And then we'll take a short break here.
Well, go to my website, mvholisticretreat.com, or send me an email at drronniedeluz@gmail.com.
And we're taking your calls, 1-800-930-2819, 1-800-930-2819. We'd love to hear from you. We'll be right back.
Are you traveling most of your day? Do you want to take Transformation Talk Radio with you anywhere you go? Well, guess what? There's an app for that. Just go to the App Store on your Apple device or the Google Play Store on your Android and search Transformation Talk Radio. Catch all of our live shows no matter where you are. Thanks for listening.
What is a brilliant culture, and how do we create them? Why are they important? Claudette Rowley has created a breakthrough 5-step process to help you align your culture with your business strategy for exceptional results. Looking for a culture that drives organizational excellence? Listen to Cultural Brilliance Radio, the second and fourth Friday of each month at 10 a.m. Pacific and 1 p.m. Eastern on Transformation Talk Radio. To learn more or work with Claudette, visit culturalbrilliance.com.
Do you feel that there's a bigger, better life for you? Is there anything holding you back from living the life you were meant to live? If you'd like to find your life's true purpose and calling, join the world's foremost authority on primal spirituality, David Carshare, in Becoming a Sun Radio, emotional and spiritual intelligence for a happy, fulfilling life. Tune in once a month to Becoming a Sun Radio with David Carshare on The Dr. Pat Show and Transformation Talk Radio. For more information, visit davidcarshare.com today.
Transformation Talk Radio is dedicated to the education and awareness of Lyme disease.
Welcome to Lyme Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Pat Baccili, the host of the Dr. Pat Show, and I am so thrilled that we've created this venue for all of you out there.
Dr. Pat Baccili will be bringing the most innovative, groundbreaking information, research, treatment innovations, and stories from those it affects every day.
What we have heard is that you want to ensure for us that we keep positive, holistic, uplifting, transformative talk radio on the air. We're excited to bring you the contemporary conversations about Lyme disease.
We promise not to let the light fade on Lyme.
So fasten your seat belts. We've got lots more to share with you in the weeks to come.
Tune into Lyme Talk Radio with Dr. Pat and help keep our mission strong on transformationtalkradio.com.
Brand consultant Jen Morgan is here with Radically Distinct Radio to help you take control of your future and maximize your brand's power to produce results. Whether you're an individual trying to reinvent yourself and launch a new venture, or you're an executive trying to reposition your company to modernize your sales and marketing programs, Jen Morgan and the RAD Method empower you to play to your strengths and show up in the world as your most powerful brand. To learn more, go to jenmorgan.com. That's Jen with 2 N's, Morgan.com, or call 206-972-5366.
Dr. Ronnie DeLuce, I'm Dr. Pat. You're listening to Lyme Talk Radio. Today, we're talking about ozone therapy and much more. What is it about the history of ozone that is so hard for us to discuss? And why is it extremely difficult to look at ozone therapy in the United States when we're looking at countries outside of the U.S. treating blood and therapy for HIV infection, immune disease? There are pilot studies, safety, efficacy, ozone therapy in medicine and dentistry. These studies go back. But if they are so important, and if they truly show in research language statistical significance, well, the question's got to be asked. Why isn't every hospital in the United States filled with ozone machines, ozonated water, ozone sauna, and I can go on? Now, Dr. Ronnie, help me out here.
Well, that's the same question that we can ask. Why aren't they telling us how to cure Lyme disease? Why, after hundreds of years, we still don't have a cure for cancer? Because I can go on and on about this subject. Yeah. It's a political question, which with a lot of political answers, Dr. Pat. Mm-hmm. My line of work, I try to stay away from that as much, and I just simply say, look, let everyone think. People are starting to know. They know what it is. They know what's wrong with our country. If you just really take a look at what ozone is not that complicated. It's one more molecule. O2 is oxygen. O3 is ozone, one extra molecule. It's not that complicated. Ozone is an energized form of oxygen with an extra electron present, which helps to disperse the molecule in the body that puts a hole through the membranes of these complicated viruses, bacteria, yeast, and cancer cells. And if you think about that science, you go, well then, okay, why don't we just use it? If it's safe, there's nothing out there that ever has said that it's absolutely dangerous, stay away from it. And I've been reading hundreds of articles about ozone treatments over the last 25 years. And, and the thing that constantly bugged me is that very question that you just asked me. Mm-hmm. If this is so great, and there's not a lot of side effects, or hardly any that I can say, but I don't ever want to say any, because you'll always have foolish people out there doing foolish things that create side effects. But if it's relatively safe, why aren't we using that? And so I know the answer to that. And to get on public radio and TV is not the place to say what it is. But people are now knowing what's going on in our country. So I've been doing ozone over 25 years. And look, I tell people all the time, the thing that we talked about when we were on break, we say, why is it that people have different types of treatment modalities and they work? Well, the reason why it works, like you said, the person that used oregano oil, and I told you that we use anti-parasitic, antifungal, and antiviral essential oils, and then we use a machine for microcirculation to help these things to cross the blood-brain barrier. And we also use ozone treatments, and we also use hyperthermia, and and many other Myers cocktails, and we have a whole list of modalities. But the thing that I want to say that makes sense is the reason why we can take two protocols that work, and you say, wow, if these two protocols worked on me, why didn't it work on the other person? Well, you have to consider that everyone's immune system's at a different level at any given time. And because we are so toxic in our world, because I don't even want to say our country anymore because I travel so much, that we're so toxic and we're so out of balance and we're not in homeostasis any longer, that all we have to do is a couple of different things and get better. So hear me, all we have to do is a couple of major things and get better, that we may not have to do the whole long complex of different protocol. However, is that a cure or is that remission?
Well, listen, here's what I'm really getting crazy about. Are you ready for me on this, Dr. Ronnie?
Yes, go ahead.
Here we go. Rats. Grew up in New York City with rats. Lived in the projects with rats. Listen to this study, 2016. Are you ready for this? Ozone therapy enhances osseosis healing in rats with diabetes with calvarial defects, right? Defects.
Wow.
Now, wait. Blah, 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 study, got the rats, double blind, you know what I mean? Some rats, we put them over there. The other rats we put over here. I'm not going to give you the rat story because nobody wants to hear about that. We don't want to hear that we're killing rats in a study. But what did they find? So if I read the numbers and tell you in science terms, osteoclast numbers in the XG plus ozone group were higher than the other groups at week 4. Hello, week 4. What the heck does that mean? Here it is, punchline, conclusion. Within the limitations of this DM animal study, gaseous ozone application accelerates xenograft resorption and enhances bone regeneration.
Whoa.
Bone regeneration, especially in early stages of bone healing. How?
Oh.
What?
Yeah.
What? I don't know. I think it's just me. I think I'm reading too much.
No, I think it's all very true. And, one day, I've been knowing about ozone for many years, 25 or more years. And now I'm going to still be living, I'm sure, when they say, you know what, we're now putting ozone in all the hospitals. You know why? Because they've exhausted everything else. And there's only so much that we can use in this world. There's only so much pollution and chemicals that we can use before it gets out of control. And we're out of control. Chronic illness is out of control. Insurance companies are out of control. We're losing the battle in this country. And chronic illness is the number one, I can't even say the words, money maker in the country. It's the number one. You want to make money? Chronic illness. Yeah. So why is that? And so we're losing the battle on what we're really supposed to be doing in this country because we're too busy cleaning up chronic illness.
Okay, I want to talk about Russia.
Okay.
I want to talk about Russia. And no, I am not going to talk about the political Russia. I'm going to talk about the master key of ozone therapy in Russia, Dr. Sergei Petrovich. Russia, the country, the Federal Russian Service, Control of Health and Social Department, Ministry of Health, authorized the use of medical ozone in obstetrics, gynecology, neonatology, traumatology, dermatology, cosmetology.
Because they have to, because their country don't make money off of illness.
There we go. our wish in all of this, Dr. Ronnie, is we get everybody together and we take the borders down of Turkey, you're doing this, Saudi, you're doing this, Russia, you're doing this, Greece, you're doing this, and Mexico, hello, you're doing this. And we come together, and rather than argue for the limitations, what if we were to look just the way students do, just the way that I did? They call this a meta study. When you take a look at research across the board and you kind of do an analysis of it, they call that a big meta study.
Mm-hmm.
What if we did that? And instead of coming in a room to pump up our egos, sat down and picked the best, what we would find is exactly what's going on in the work that you're doing. Mm-hmm. Because you can't stay, Dr. Ronnie, if you don't get good results, can you?
No, that's right. That's right.
So, this is the conversation. Mm-hmm. Who are the people like you, Dr. Ronnie DeLuz, that are working with others that have put 30 years into figuring this out, that's willing to come out and say, listen, you don't have money for this, you don't have money for that, an ozonator, an ozone machine, what is it, $114? We're actually going to raise some crowdfunding so that we can supply people with some simple things.
That's the only way it's going to work, Dr. Pat.
Ronnie?
It's the only way. It's the only way. I'm doing a support group meeting tonight, and I said to the director of the support group yesterday, I said to her, listen, Dr. Enid, how many times do I go and talk to your group and look them in the eyes and tell them all the things that they have to do to help their body with Lyme without telling them where to get the money from? Because and I know that insurance not paying. And how many times do they look at me and within themselves, they're saying, without saying it, oh, that's that Dr. Ronnie, she charges a lot of money. And so what are we doing to people? So what we have to do for people, Dr. Pat, we have to provide them the means. If insurance won't do it, then we have to do crowdfunding, or we have to do some kind of funding to get these people with chronic Lyme help, because I can't stand looking at them and not help them. It's not ethical, it's not moral, doesn't make me feel good. That's not who I am as a person.
Yeah. Here's the thing I know about you and the thing I know about me. We are massively committed to just ongoing research, study, who's doing what, how are lives being saved. I clearly was talking about, the breakthroughs that, the Russian folks have made on ozone. But I'm going to put the article up on the website so everybody can see it. When you follow the thread, Dr. Sergey sounds like Dr. Ronnie. It sounds like somebody that knew he had a critical medical situation, had to get results, dissertation defense, all about ozone. And what now? The Russian Associations of Ozone Therapy. I'm not saying that they're better than we are. That's not the conversation here. Isn't the question, Dr. Ronnie, can't we learn from each other, maybe?
Yes, but I think we do know. And see, it's more than that. I don't think that they necessarily know a lot more than we do. It's just that we won't do it because we can't do it because we're not supported in doing it. How many more people have to go to jail because they're not practicing, or they're practicing medicine, or their license is being taken away, or they get missing in action, and then all kinds of things happened in our country if you don't follow the political rules and regulations.
Yeah. I think that, I have to tell you, Linda was telling me it was hard to find people to even come on this show. That people are so scared they don't want to come on the show.
Right.
They don't want to talk about, what they're discovering, how they're going about saving lives.
No, they
And
can't anymore. Not anymore. You can't do it anymore. And you got to be really careful, because it's not the way we do. It's not what we do in this country.
mm-hmm.
Well,
that's why I'm quoting studies for this show.
Exactly.
See,
and
we're bringing in science.
Well.
Right.
Right.
I want to ask you this question. I think we'll go ahead and skip the break. I want to ask you this question. What are you most optimistic about?
Well, I'm most optimistic about, believe it or not, is what we're doing and what you're getting ready to do. Because, Dr. Pat, at the end of the day, it's really all about helping people, isn't it? And so you and I, we know how to do that. And I'm excited about what you're doing. I'm excited about innovative things. Like I'm excited about telemedicine. I'm excited about being able to reach a lot of people and changing their lives and the way they heal their body and the way they take on life is to be led much more differently today than it was 20 years ago. We now have the opportunity to live into our hundreds. But you got to have knowledge, and you got to have support. And unfortunately today you got to have a little bit of money. But I think that we can change a lot of lives by giving them some basic education on how to live a healthier lifestyle through what you're doing. And you're doing a great job by talking a lot about developing a whole innovative program on education with videos and stuff like that. Because with that, you're going to be able to get people's attention. Not hundreds, thousands, and maybe millions of people are going to learn through your innovative program. And that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah. I said something earlier, and let's talk about this for a minute. I get to talk to a lot of people. I've done that just like you have in 30 years. And we hear stories of people that have said, I didn't know where to turn. So I decided to use colloidal silver, drink ozone water 10 times a day, not scientifically, let's call it intuitively.
Mm-hmm.
Things that you can get over the counter. You can buy an ozonator. Nobody says to you, you can't buy that ozone machine, right? They're not going to do that. The ozone, a colloidal silver, or they'll get something and they'll start to do green drinks, right? Mm-hmm. And they start intuitively putting this together. So then they feel good, right? Then they start to say, oh, I'm going to do more of that. Now maybe I'll do this. Oh, wait a minute, that thing did. So here's a real problem. When we give a medicine to somebody and they feel worse, we often say, uh-oh, it must not be working. But might it be something else?
Yes, it is something else. Oftentimes it is. But that goes back to education. Mm-hmm. In our country, we don't do what's called educating our clients or our patients. We give what's called prescription. We're a prescription country. We just give a prescription. But when you explain to someone this medication may produce this, but that's a good thing because your body needs to rid the toxic remedies that's within your body out into your system, into your bloodstream, into your lymphatic system, you may feel the effects of it, and that just means that you're detoxing that out. But what happens is the person will have that reaction, a little bit of rash or a headache or whatever, a little bit of diarrhea, and we go, oops, we got to give you another drug because you've got diarrhea and you've got a rash. All we're doing is compounding the problem. And what we should have been doing is saying, you know what, that's a good reaction that you're having. So let's give you some green drink or let's give you an antioxidant drink. Let's help the body to get rid of it, maybe a little bit of probiotic. So there's a lot of preventative things that we can do, but we don't. We make the problem worse, Dr. Pat. And I think because of that, you may find that the average person that don't have the education will end up on 7 or 8 different drugs, and they may not even know why they're on 8 different drugs. unfortunately, because those are the people that I see. They'll come in and they'll have like a bag of drugs, and they're not really sure which one is causing which side effect. And so it'll take about a week to figure out why they're even on the drugs. By the time I do that and start weaning them off of some of them, by the time they leave, they think I'm a miracle worker. I'm not a miracle worker. I think it's very, very sad that all I have to do is help them clean up their body, put them on good nutrition, and take away some of those toxic drugs. That, to me, is sad. That's not a miracle.
Mm-hmm. You and I are simply sharing information that comes from science, that comes from studies. You and I didn't show up today to just kind of tout our horn about ozone and be part of some, ozone sales special. We're talking about research done, even about strokes. I mean, the efficacy and safety of ozone therapy administered through blood transfusion for acute ischemic stroke.
Oh,
Whoa,
absolutely.
What?
Yes.
Yeah. This is science. This is not voodoo. And I think that's the point that you and I are wanting to make here, to bring the conversation to the table.
And I think what we want to do is what you're doing, getting ready to do, is do what's called massive amount of education in a fun way. Because what we may have been talking about today, we may have some people out there that gets it, what we're talking about, and understand us and is quite motivated by our conversation today. But the average person, we can turn them off because they'll say, oh, that's just way too much, and I can't believe that our country is doing that, and I don't know which way to turn. What do I do? What do I eat? How do I start this whole process of wellness? But at the same time, we have to say what we're saying in order to make a change in the world. And we have to start with at least educating those who remotely understand a little bit about what we're talking about, so that they can help us change the world by all educating people on the same thing. And what the world is asking of us is, please clean me up so that I can be healthy.
Yeah.
We've done a mess. Our society, our country's a mess. We're a toxic mess.
Yeah. And, here's the punchline for us, Dr. Ronnie. We're really clear about a few things. One is that, are we saying that ozone therapy alone is going to work? Well, the science may not say that, but here's what it does say. It does say, even for that the infection, the papilloma virus, right, the HPV, even with HPV, what they're saying is, wait a minute, ozone, group O3, treated with ozone plus integrated therapy, OMG, look at the results. Look at the 80% results.
Yeah.
That's all we're saying.
And that's all we're saying. And all we're saying is ozone has different modes of action. So the different modes of action of ozone on a living organism, on a living cell, is so now well understood by the scientific world, and they understand it. And so what's involved in the ozone treatment is the peroxides that it produced. So the peroxides are responsible for the bactericidal and the fungicidal and the virucidal effects. And that's what makes it so remarkable. Now, listen to this. What I do every day in the morning, well, maybe I'll skip a couple of days, but I have what's called food-grade hydrogen peroxide, because, see, it's all related.
Yeah.
And I wash my mouth out with it. You have to, so don't mark me, all those who are listening, because you have to do it in the right way. But I've never had problems with my teeth. I mean, I always have to say that I don't get colds and runny nose and bacterial infections, because I contribute that, my part of my health, to that. And it also helps with your immune system, and you can swallow some of it. I mean, it's really, really important that you take on some of this ozone information. And even food grade hydrogen peroxide is awesome.
And Dr. Ronnie, can't they call you? I mean, let's do this, because we got about a minute left. If anybody's got any questions, call Dr. Ronnie.
Yeah.
And what's the best way for people to contact you? And Dr. Ronnie, thank you for everything you're doing.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
So just email me at drronniedeluz@gmail.com, and I will surely get back to you. One of my assistants will actually give you a free consultation with me in the evening. It's the best way to get a hold of me. And go to my website at mvholisticretreat.com. I got so many websites now, but that's the best one.
Dr. Ronnie, thank you so much.
You're
my
very
partner
welcome. My
and
pleasure.
colleague, and my kick back and have some fun buddy. Thank you all for tuning us in, turning us on. We've got lots more to come on Lyme Talk Radio. Why? Because you matter to us. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Lyme Talk Radio with Dr. Pat Baccili, Epic Healing for an Epic Life. This inspiring show highlights leading-edge solutions, groundbreaking research, headline topics, and tools for holistic healing and wellness. This hit show is dedicated to raising awareness, promoting advocacy and prevention, and supporting initiatives for optimal health. Dr. Pat is passionate and focused on life-saving results reaching far beyond Lyme disease, providing a forum for powerful stories, heart-opening experiences, and hope-activated solutions. Dr. Pat will shine a light on the many shades of Lyme disease, fueled by a body-mind-spirit remedy. For more information, visit lyme-talk-radio.com and tune in next time.